Hi, welcome to Money by Sunny. If you're like most people, you probably wonder where your money disappears to every month. Sure, there are always bills to pay, groceries to buy, and other essentials that need to be taken care of. And of course, it's always nice to spend money on indulgences to enjoy yourself. But it can still be unnerving at how that nice chunk of salary seems to vanish into thin air in a matter of days or weeks after receiving your paycheck. Unfortunately, it's a common occurrence to see people struggling with their finances every month. This even applies to people who make a decent amount of money, well above the minimum wage. Why do we see this happen so often? It's usually a case of people either not having a clear plan on how to manage their finances, or for those who do have a plan, it's often a result of not carrying it out. In this video, we'll go through a solid 6-step or 6-priority plan on where your monthly paycheck should go. Done correctly and consistently, this can give you a good chance of getting a solid hold of your finances. As always, however, do note that this is not financial advice, as this is merely for educational and entertainment purposes. Now, let's get into it. Priority number 1, retirement fund. One of the most important priorities for anyone is their retirement fund, regardless of whether you just entered the workforce or if you've already been working for a decade or two. It's important to make sure that you are saving for retirement and have a plan in place. And you want to make sure that you are not only saving, but that your money is working for you and beating inflation. Your retirement fund should be made up of 2 main parts: employer contributions and employee contributions. Employer contributions are made by your employer and can vary, depending on the company you work for. Employee contributions are funds that you contribute yourself, which are usually taken directly from your pay. If you're in the US, a 401k allows you to contribute pre-tax money, which lowers your taxable income. This makes contributing easier on your monthly budget. Additionally, some employers will match a percentage of what you contribute, which is like getting free money. These benefits aren't confined to the US, however. Retirement funds in many other countries often come with tax benefits and involve some level of contributions from the employer. Priority number 2, must-have expenses. There are some expenses that are essential for everyone. Rent, food or groceries, and clothing are a few of the most common. Most people also need transportation, either to get to work or school or to run errands. The trick here is to make sure that these really are must-haves. These should be expenses that you literally can't live without. For example, it's going to be difficult to go on functioning if you don't have a roof over your head, or if you don't have food to eat. Having said this, it doesn't mean that you should order takeout or eat out every day. While you can't eliminate these expenses entirely, one way to make these costs more manageable is to try and find cheaper alternatives. For example, you can search for affordable housing or try cooking at home more often. You can also look for ways to reduce your transportation costs, such as carpooling or taking public transportation. Or you may be able to reduce your cable bill by researching streaming options or by reducing the number of services or channels that you subscribe to. Priority number 3, debt. If you have debt repayments that take up a large chunk of your monthly budget, it can be difficult to make headway on other financial goals, such as saving for a rainy day fund or investing for the future. That's why it's important to make a plan to get rid of, or at least lower your debt as quickly as possible. You obviously don't want the bank or collection company chasing you for payments either, not to mention the negative impact on your credit score. Lowering your debt in the fastest possible time involves paying over and above the minimum repayment amount, so that it decreases at a faster rate. There are 2 popular ways to attack your debts and reduce them as effectively as possible. The first method is called the debt snowball method, which entails paying off the smallest debt first, then moving on to the next, and so on, until all your debts have been paid off. The main benefit of this method is from a psychological standpoint. It's definitely a nice feeling to see your individual debts steadily disappear one by one. Another benefit is to your monthly cash flow, since you're gradually freeing up the repayment or installment amount as each debt is paid off. The other popular method is called the avalanche method. This is where you focus on paying off the highest interest debt first, and then work your way downwards. This often means that your credit cards or personal loans are the ones you pay attention to in the beginning, since these tend to have pretty high interest rates. This method has the advantage of saving on interest costs, since you attack those first, before getting to the lower interest debt, such as mortgages. But this may be more difficult psychologically, as you may have to wait for a while before you see any single, individual debt get paid off. But whether you use one of these methods or a combination, or even another completely different method, it's important to make sure that you take steps to consistently chip away at your debt pile. Priority number 4, emergency fund. An emergency fund should be your next step when it comes to where to put your salary. This fund is what will help you stay afloat when an unexpected expense comes up. Your goal should be to have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved and easily accessible, so that you can cover yourself in case of a job loss, illness, or any other unexpected event that will affect you financially. If you have a good-sized emergency fund in place, you won't have to resort to using high-interest credit cards or taking out a loan to cover your emergency expenses. This will just add to your debt pile, which is not something you want to do. One way to build your emergency fund is to automate your savings. Have a set amount transferred from your checking account to your designated emergency fund savings account each month. This way, you won't miss the money as much, and you'll be on your way to a secure financial future. It's okay to start small and then gradually build it up. One way to do this is to set aside small amounts daily, like even $1 a day. This will then add up over the course of a month, and you'll be on your way to building your rainy day fund. Priority number 5, investments. Now that you've gotten your present sorted out, it's time to look ahead to the future. Investing in growing assets are the way to go here. This may be in the form of stocks, bonds, real estate, or other assets. Such investments provide long-term stability and growth potential, and should be part of any solid financial plan. Like putting money aside for your retirement plan, this is all about planning for your future by growing your wealth. There are a wide variety of investment options available though, so it's important to do your research and find the right one for you. Alternatively, you can talk to a financial advisor for some professional advice. A well-diversified investment portfolio can help protect against market volatility, minimize your risk, and beat inflation. One way to do this is to maintain an appropriate mix of stocks, bonds, and other instruments to meet your goals. If you're feeling adventurous and willing to take on more risk, you can even look at more exotic investment options that may be able to give you higher returns. Have a look at the description for a video where we go through 8 alternative investment options. It could be food for thought. Priority number 6, other spending. Once you've allocated your monthly pay to these 5 priorities, give yourself a pat on the back. You can then take that hard-earned money you have remaining and spend it on luxuries. These could be indulgences like going on vacations, eating out, or other forms of leisure. It can be hard to lump this as the lowest priority, as the temptation to spend on nice things is always there. But it's important to stay disciplined and stick to the plan. It's a tough but true fact that there are no shortcuts to financial wellness. It takes some sacrifice and some changes to your habits and your lifestyle, but it's worth it. Once you've gotten into the groove in terms of running the 5 priorities, you'll have a lot more freedom and flexibility to pursue the things that do make you happy. And you can do so with a clearer conscience and less stress, since you're keeping in touch and on top of all the must-haves. So there you have it. I'm sure these 6 priorities will be super useful and will give you a solid plan to get in control of your money. Like we always hear, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you like this video, please do subscribe and leave us a like or a comment. See you next time on Money by Sunny.